Carver Project is a unique artistic exhibit that features a collection of many written responses by Vancouver's downtown eastside community. Every year, we ask the community a thought-provoking question with the goal of sharing the humanity behind the community. In this slide, you'll see some of the responses from the questions that we've asked in our previous years in Carver Project 1 and 2. And this year, our question was, what have you learned about community and connection in the past year? And our heart goes out to our community partners, Union Gospel Mission, Mission Possible, and Eastside Works, who helped us gather these responses.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, you're so kind. Oh, thank you. Hi, my name is Carissa Lendicho, and I will be your host for this evening for Carver Project 3.0. For those of you who don't know me, I am the current head of advocacy as well as a community mentor for Employ to Empower. I am beyond thrilled for you to meet and hear these amazing stories from each of our speakers today.
Jeannette and Alley Blais are the founders of Back Alley Apothecary, Employ to Empower Entrepreneurs, and Downtown Eastside Peers. They are a dynamic mother-daughter duo who began their business in the heat of the pandemic. Originally from Toronto, these downtown Eastside residents created a line of plant-based, natural products to address the wear and tear of street life, including chronic skin conditions and other health concerns that many of their fellow community members face. Inspired by their lived experiences, their goal is to promote accelerated wound healing and reduce pain for their friends and neighbors in the community. This duo will share what they've learned from their community, that everyone has their own story to tell.
A moment that I realized how important community was in this neighborhood especially was when, again, the overdose crisis was happening, and seeing people from Insight putting in their blood, sweat, and tears, literally, to go out there and help people. I mean, they were running, they'd get a call, and they'd be running and running from one place to the next, with their overdose kit, and helping people literally come back to life. You see people in the alleyways, and it's so commonplace to just see people dying in the streets. It becomes normal, and that's really, really sad. So it's seeing people from Insight make that effort it's huge, just to see them, and they're being paid minimum wage, to go out and fucking save these people dying in the streets. So it really, wow, seeing that effort, seeing them do so much, you figure, okay, I can do a little bit too, yeah.
And it makes you want to help. It makes you want to reach out and help as well, because you see all this help and how people help each other. So it really does, it just pulls the community together as collectively.
And they say Vancouver's a really lonely city, which is kind of ironic, because they say Vancouver's a very hard place to meet people and find that sense of community. So it's kind of a little nugget in the middle of downtown Vancouver where that's not the thing, that's not the norm. To kind of defy that. Hi.
Test. Mic check. How we doing?
How's this going? 1, 2, 3. We all good?
Oh, amazing.
All right. Hello.
Right. So, first off, I would like to do check-in. How are you both feeling?
All right. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday?
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
Well, first off, I would like to thank you both for being here out of your busy schedules, and also just, the hecticness of life. Life is very hectic.
Yes, it is.
And of course, on the topic of hecticness, this past year has been extremely hectic. And so I would love to start off with, how has this past year been for both of you, and speaking candidly about your own personal experiences.
Well, this year is, with regards to COVID, you see everything's changed. Everything's changed sort of in your surroundings and your community. At first, though, we really didn't see much of a change. Interestingly enough, in the community, there was a sense of almost invincibility. No one seemed to, there was almost a denial of it, a doubt of it, doubting the validity of it. Even people walking around almost as if where is it? We can't be harmed by it, and everyone walking around sort of unfazed by it. So it was interesting. But then we started seeing changes from, on the news, and things started trickling down into the neighborhood and making changes started happening, positive and negative. People started getting more housing, access to housing, which was really cool to see. I guess but there's a difference in stores, things around the neighborhood, just things it's very surreal almost sometimes. Different policies, different ways of wearing masks, hiding your face. It's been a strange year.
Well, I guess it's it's exactly that. It's an adaptation, like everyone, not just the community, but everyone has to adapt to it. To this past year, many things to restrictions, but I also found the same as Ali, because we both live in the community, that it didn't affect the social gathering. There was still a lot of social activity out in the streets all day, all night. And people watching out for each other, taking care of each other. A little more isolation and restrictions for those who have housing, as opposed to the homeless that don't have housing. And, as Ali said, the closures. So we all of us have to adapt to the closures and restrictions. You can't go to a coffee shop and so forth. But it's positive and negative. So the fact that that we're more indoors, the ones who have housing, we're more indoors, then it's not so bad. It's a time to get to know yourself and reflect on who you are. And but then when you go outside, it's social gatherings. So
I guess the thing about isolation, though, is it's definitely been a year of reflection. Definitely a year of reflection, with getting to know yourself again. Yeah, getting to know what you like to do when you're by yourself. Finding out who you are again, and getting into maybe old hobbies, or learning things online, or stuff like that. Improving yourself, finding ways to improve yourself rather than dwell in negativity and sort of sit around and mope. Finding things to keep yourself busy.
Yeah, and that's very powerful, and I feel that's a theme that's popped up with my mask is every time I talk about it. Sorry, I'm just gonna have to
Adjust, adapt.
All right. Yes, no, it's been an interesting time, and I remember talking to, actually, I think I read an article, and they talked about how it's this pandemic is the great pause, and described it as because all of these things around us that usually distract us, that usually keeps us busy, are now on pause, they're canceled. And so finding that time, like you said, to sit with ourselves and find those things that are meaningful to us, that we want to put our energy and time into, because we now have this time and this energy. What were some of the things that the two of you explored, that that you found during the pandemic?
I've got to read more. Definitely got to read more. I have a lot of books, and only half of them have been read, I say. So, yeah, getting into read a lot more books that I've been meaning to cross off my list. Spend more time with your pets. Your pets are usually home alone during the day, so spending a little more time with your pets. If you have any pets out there, love them. I just recently lost my cat, so yeah, I'm getting to know, giving your time to your pets again, your animals at home, thinking of them. Yes. Sorry, I forgot what the question was.
That's okay. It was, tapping into that side of ourselves that we said that we were able to sit with during pandemic, and that is a key one. Yeah, being able to be with our loved ones, and animals included, and spending that time, and really, really expressing that gratitude. I know in our past conversations that we've had many, but we often talked about the importance that the community has had, and you've also painted the homage of how this community in particular, the downtown east side, is very unique. Could you kind of describe that uniqueness? What makes Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique community. I've lived in quite a few cities, well, a couple handfuls maybe. But every city's got its own charm. That's what you could say. But it's downtown Eastside. The first time I saw it here, I was here for work about 6 years ago, and a friend of mine, I called him up and asked him to take me on a tour of the downtown Eastside, like it was a novelty. And I saw it for the first time, and I was in shock. I'm like, this is crazy. This is fucking crazy. Like this, I can't believe this is just like this. And it was like I was taking pamphlets and things and like flyers and taking pictures, and it was like I was like a tourist. It was like such a novelty to me. And fast forward 6 years later, I live here, so it's not such a novelty anymore. And it's the same atmosphere, I guess you could say, it was back then. But it's definitely, I call it the land where sirens stop, because you hear police sirens in a big city. I'm from a big city too, but you always hear sirens in the background, and ambulances and police, but they always seem to go off somewhere in the distance and kind of go somewhere else. But here's the land where the sirens stop. So you definitely see the urgency in the dead set in the middle of the community. So it's definitely a hub of um, madness. But what makes it unique, other than these things, I say the willingness to just kind of let yourself be open to the madness, let yourself kind of let your freak flag fly, so to speak, not being inhibited by, I guess, social qualms. I don't know how to say it. So just walking around and not really, it's I don't know how to describe it. See, it's in the walking around the neighborhood. There's an openness, open markets, open drugs, open drug markets, open clothing markets, people selling things, people trading things, people just kind of, some of them a little desperate at times, but no one really caring too much about, I guess, what other people think of them. So I guess that's definitely a unique thing. You can walk outside with your hair undone and your tracksuit on and not really care. Sometimes, I don't know, it's a different sort of place to be, different atmosphere, I guess, than most cities. Anything else?
I would say just the well, for us, we've had a great opportunity in the community with Employed to Empower and help, a lot of access for people still have access to all the supplies they need, harm reduction supplies, food, counseling, whatever they help that they need. The help is there. So I find that sometimes I see that people don't know that the help is there, and that they need a little guidance with that. But
Well, that being said, I mean, this with the what is your blank? um, with the access to services, and you said there's a lot of services in the neighborhood that makes it unique. It definitely does. There's a lot of help, a lot of different things. I mean, whatever your situation you find yourself in, there's probably someone there to help you out through it. There's even places like which is really unique to the city. Places like Insight and Ops, places like that being the first North American safe consumption sites, paving the way for other cities to follow suit like that. It's definitely unique about the city. We're kind of pioneering that sort of that openness to that, and helping people through that, making sure that people are safe.
No, I love that, and I know that's something that we've talked about often too. Is the support from the community, not only from peers, but the grassroots organizations within it. I would love to really dive into, because you yourselves are residents within the downtown east side, and as we know, as many people watching know, is a lot of what is talked about the downtown east side is the media's perspective, and it's very much not a perspective written from an individual living in the downtown east side. So I'd love to give you that opportunity to kind of speak on the behalf of yourselves, but as peers and residents of the downtown east side, paint that image of just the sense of community that is within the downtown east side, and kind of describe that and what it's been like for you, the both of you.
Well, there's a lot of there's a lot of I guess camaraderie within the community. People helping people not being scared to go out and talk to somebody or help somebody. There's a lot of like disconnect
I find in larger cities where people don't, they walk down the street and people say that Vancouver is a lonely city. I think I mentioned this before. People say that it's a lonely city and people don't know each other and don't talk to each other. But I really find the opposite of that. People are not scared to talk to one another. People aren't scared to reach out and help somebody. For instance, there's people on the streets and they're sleeping on the streets. You don't know if they're conscious. You don't know if they're breathing. And so people will go out and, hey, buddy, how you doing? Talk to them, rub them on the back and see if they're okay. And it's kind of a lot of people in bigger cities, they just tend to walk by and ignore that and figure something else, someone else will take care of that or someone else will do something about that. I don't really have to. So taking that initiative and helping people out and talking to people, I guess people aren't as scared to do that around here, which is really cool. Seeing people just care for one another. You see if people are using drugs on the street and you see there's a kid on the block or a child walking on the street, everyone will say, kid on the block, and everyone will put their dope away. It's people care, about what's going on around them. More so than, I guess, if you look a little closer, you get to see the real way people are around here. And it's a little different than what one may think, but yeah, a lot of care and concern for each other. There's a dark side too. There's definitely a dark side if you look a little closer underneath the rug, sort of. I don't know. Yeah, if you look a little closer, there's a bit of a dark side to here, but I mean, it's everywhere has that.
And I think, did you want to add anything?
I would just agree with all that. That's what I see. The people helping people, and there is a little bit of a dark side to it, but it's still, I think there's exceptions to everything.
Oh, there's the dark side right now.
There's no dark side.
Dark side, go away. No dark side. No dark side here.
But it's nice to see places like Insight and Ops, so they're in harm reduction. It's always making sure that there's helping to prevent overdoses and making sure that people stay well, and which is what's really nice to see. And since I've lived in the downtown Eastside community, this is what I've noticed the most. And now I've learned how to look for what people need on the street. Like Ali said, like people are sleeping on the street. And so now I have learned how to pay attention to that, to go up and give them a little nudge, someone sleeping, and make sure in the winter, make sure that they have a blanket, or if they're not cold, they have food, just to check in.
And I think that's the beautiful thing that I've learned with my time, working with the community and working with the two of you and the other entrepreneurs is, like you said, I always struggle to say that word, but the unity there and the just the constant willingness and desire to help one another. And I feel like that's, at least for myself, the thing that I admire the most. For those who, sorry, lost my train of thought. But for, you've spoken a lot about the different services and the different portions that are within the community and that are really serving this community well. And there might not be an answer to this, but do you think there's anything that's missing that could be added?
Well, yeah, definitely. There's definitely, you see people, a lot of people, it's, like I said, the first time I came here, it was shocking. I'm now used to seeing it, but I guess a lot of people aren't used to seeing it a lot of the time. But the people are walking around, they have their problems. They have their health problems, their issues, mental health issues, physical issues. People are walking around with wounds, open wounds, sort of not tired and sick a lot of the time. And I guess access to sort of things that like basic healthcare, I mean, there's you have your basic like immediate urgent care. You have places to go and if for withdrawal management or overdose prevention and things like this. But just basic healthcare, like your basic your sense of home, like like your basic comforts. When you don't have a home, a lot of the time you don't have those basic comforts. I've only lived on the streets for a few months years ago, but it was hell. And just the things you go through, you don't really realize how much a sandwich and a pair of socks can mean to somebody, and it means the world sometimes. So just those basic comforts. I think that's what we tried to address with our business that we're starting, the Back Alley Apothecary. is finding products and things that people need, like a survival kit for the downtown east side. So like just basic to address your comforts, your discomforts, I guess, your wounds, your
Yes, just basic basic comforts. So we look at it as what's missing is that it's a place where people can a place I'm meaning a sense of like a whole collective approach to your general health care. Have you had your vitamin today? What kind of food are you eating? How are you feeling? If you're sick and you're tired, why are you sick and tired? And to prevent from having an illness. That's like a prevention, natural alternative medicine prevention. So that's what we find.
And two things I would love to cover is, well, one, could you tell us more about Back Alley Apothecary?
Well, our Back Alley Apothecary is plant medicine and natural ingredients to products within, like in our ingredients. Our products are made from plant medicine, so they're all natural, and they help with what we see missing. So they help with that open wound, to accelerate the healing of that open wound, or to cleanse the body for cracked hands and cracked feet, fungal infections.
Even down to vanity, having a sense of vanity about it. Like a revitalizing spray. Went to with the cracked hands and cracked feet, something to heal your hands, heal your fingernails. We want to come up with we have come up with it. We just have to make it. So, but one for to help your hair grow, help your just to make you feel a little better, make you feel a little more confident. Having that confidence about you is really key when you're walking around trying to get your life better and getting yourself back out there in the world. And a lot of people really need that boost. So just find little things that people are missing and kind of making them feel a little better about themselves.
I love that. And to give everyone context, but it comes in not only the spray, but what are the other forms that it takes?
We have Solve, a balm. We have a spritzer, Second Wind. It's our revitalizing spritzer. What else we have? We have the one for the cracked hands, cracked feet, a cream. We have the gummy bears, which are taken with the Solve.
Pain cream. One for pain. One for pain. Yes.
Yeah, we've about six right now, 6 products that we've developed.
And to, of course, give context, I know for some individuals, you might have been able to see the mini documentary that played right before this, but would you like to kind of also give some, because also to give everyone context, this is something that Jeannette and Alley have been working on amidst the pandemic. So this in its own is an amazing opportunity, but also accomplishment. And so I really want to hype it all up.
Yeah, it started because of the pandemic. I think a lot of the time because of the pandemic, I think we started it. Having a lot of that time on your hands, having that free time, finding something creative and something productive to do. It was formed from that. Yeah. So and I guess just people having lack of or hours, like decreased hours, lack of services. I mean, things kind of decreased around the neighborhood, like with things like just basic services have sort of changed, if not decreased, but changed at least. So I mean, limiting people to be able to access those things they need a lot of the time. So people just kind of not going if they don't know the hours are, or missing it and just not bothering to go to somewhere. So I guess just kind of seeing that that need even more. Even more, I guess, noticeable. Seeing that exaggerated, or whatever, I don't know the word I'm looking for. But yeah, seeing that, so I guess addressing that need and helping people, I guess, just kind of get what they need in a cost-efficient and affordable way, a feasible way for them to access these things.
And one of my favorite elements that Jeannette has brought into my life is, the importance of recognizing that, yes, thank you, modern medicine can do many things, but it's always important to go back to our roots of what Mother Nature has brought us. So for our last kind of few minutes, I would love to tap into, for both of you, what are your hopes? Hopes for the community, as well as hopes for, what you're bringing to the community. What are your hopes?
Well, our hopes are to bring that unity to the community, and that rhymes, unity to the community, in the way of natural selections, natural choices. So to bring Mother Earth and nature more into the community, and so for us to harmonize with it a little more. And I think that's very important for, especially now with the pandemic, and for our future. Instead of drifting away from Mother Earth, we need to bring it more within us. Yes.
I guess that being said, as I do definitely 100% promote and believe and prefer natural medicines and natural remedies for maintenance and healthcare, and many other things as well other than healthcare. But there's a natural remedy for everything. But I guess what I'd like for my hopes for the community is seeing access to safe supply for people. There's a lot of ODs happening right now. A lot of people are dying unnecessarily, and this because they're alone. Self-isolation is kind of, that's the negative aspect of it. But people are alone, they're using, and they're dying. So I mean, if they have access to safe supply, which is Western pharmaceuticals, if they had access to something like that, there'd be a lot less tragedy going on in the community right now. So my hopes would be a lot less death. Yeah, we've lost a lot of good people. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
to the both of you, and for being here today. Because know that, even though 20 minutes is definitely not enough time to really dive into our reflections and your story, but what was brought here today is super important, because only you can speak on behalf of what you experienced and what you witnessed and what you know. And yes, there are some dark elements, but there's also a lot of good that comes out of it. So being able to highlight that and have that opportunity to share with the community out here. And so all I can say is thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now we can do a little shake out, because I know that's always nerve-wracking, even though we can't see anybody too. To learn more about Jeannette and Alley, for those of you who, missed the little documentary that we kind of gave you all a teaser and showed you, or if you just want to watch it again, please visit the website where it's called carberproject.com, where you can see not only Jeannette and Alley's store, as well as the other employed to empower entrepreneurs, as well as the virtual gallery from not only the first year's Carver Project, second year's Carver Project, but also this year's Carver Project. And again, if you have any questions, please throw them into the chat, and because Jeannette and Alley will be joining us in the Q&A at the end of this session. All right. So until then, we will be, I don't know why I keep saying until then, human. And up next, after the break, so I do this thing too, whenever I make a little mistake, I'm just like, human. Up next, after the break, we have the pleasure of speaking with Sarah Blyth, who is the Executive Director of OPS, which is the Overdose Prevention Society. Until then, please enjoy a 10-minute break to grab a.
Sarah Blyth is the Executive Director of the Overdose Prevention Society. Sarah is an overdose response advocate and key driver in Vancouver's response to the fentanyl crisis, founding the Overdose Prevention Society in 2016. What started as 2 pop-up injection sites has now grown to a peer-based service with a location on East Hastings. The Overdose Prevention Society educates peers in advocacy, community governance, innovative strategies, health literacy, health and social inequalities, facilitators, and barriers for scaling up innovations and improving health outcomes through empowerment. Sarah will bring insight into the realities of her work within the context of facing a public health emergency amidst a pandemic.
For inviting me to this event. Christina and I met when she was running a yearly free market. It was a market that was free at the downtown East Side market, right in the middle of the downtown East Side. And she would hold it once a year, and lots of people would donate clothing, and young people, youth would come and help give it away. And it was really a huge event. I don't know if it happened last year, but it was really a great event.
It did the street store?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was different this year, of course, but it happened and it was very, very successful.
Yeah. So I just wasn't around for it for whatever reason. Maybe I was away or something. But yeah, no, it's a huge, nice benefit for people. There I am. Yeah, it's a huge, nice benefit for people to be able to get stuff free and be able to just go in and actually we've based some of our things off of that. Just some of we have like free food now. We get a huge donation of food from Save On Foods that we are able to give out free food and clothing and things like that. So on a regular basis, which is really, really nice, especially when people don't have much in the downtown East Side, and it just relieves some of the issues that people are having to deal with. But I don't know if everyone knows of what the Overdose Prevention Society is, or the Overdose Prevention Society is. So I'll just give a brief rundown of it. So in 2016, I was working at the street market where Christina has her free store once a year, but it's a street market for people in the downtown East Side who go and grab things out of the garbage, or find stuff on the sidewalk, or want to recycle, or have food that they want to trade off for something else. So it's a big market with about 100 vendors, and they just sort of buy, sell, and trade. And it's great. It's 7 days a week in the downtown East Side, but it's really a community event every day, and a lot of community members go, and even art and all kinds of stuff. So, but I was managing that market at the time, and there was an increase in overdoses in the area. And just because the market's outside, we were the first line of sort of who people would run to. If there was an overdose, they would come to the market and say, there's an overdose. And so we brought Narcan on site, and we just ended up having to get more and more of it. At a certain point, we had where we were getting our Narcan from say, like, we don't have any more Narcan to give you because you guys, Narcan is what reverses overdoses. We don't have any more Narcan to give you because we're running out, because you keep taking it. And at a certain point, we would run out of it, and we didn't know where it was, and it was just not really organized. So what we did was we started a tent, table, and a chair, and said, here's where you come if there's an emergency. But the truth of the matter is that it was just shocking how many people were overdosing in the street everywhere. Everywhere you would go, it was just people were overdosing. It was crazy. And at a certain point, we just said, people would say, would you be willing to observe us while we're using, just to make sure, what we're using is okay. And so we just started doing that, and then expanded that, and then had a few people on standby. So yeah, so it started like that. And at first, the city and the province said, no, that's just not something that you can do on city property, or in provincial jurisdictions either. It's not. VCH doesn't approve of that, and also the government. So we just said, you know what, it's like a medic tent. This is like an emergency. I don't know if you know this yet, but this is really, really getting bad. And then coroner numbers started to come in, and I think that 3 months later, the health minister, Terry Lake, at the time, said, you know what, because we had collected data on how many people we'd saved and how many people we had used with us, and they just said, you know what, we've got to make this something real, because this is actually saving lives. People would die in the alley, and they do. They die when they're alone, and they're dying in the alley. Unfortunately, that was just the beginning of it. And, we're obviously in 2021 now, and the drug supply is, that was sort of a smaller issue in Vancouver. And now it's sort of grown into like, fentanyl is the drug that everybody uses, and it's really easy for it to become toxic. I don't know if I'm taking too much time on this, but now fentanyl is the drug that most people use, but it's just easily, it can easily be toxic because just a few grains can make it, an overdosable amount. So, and now they've put other things like benzos in there, and COVID has made it much more challenging as well, just in terms of overdose response. And then, people who were using at overdose prevention sites for a while there, they were going home, but then we realized there's more people dying of overdoses than of COVID. So there's been a lot of things that have happened, but, really, like Jeannette was saying, we're losing so many people. We just really are losing so many people because of the toxic drug supply. I think last week we lost 5 people that we knew. So, I mean, from my perspective, just knowing so many people and having them die, it's just the most traumatizing thing. I can't even barely explain it. It's hard to even feel it, because one person dies, you have the memorial. A lot of people don't have funding for memorials. We've had a lot of memorials at our overdose prevention site. We put on, and that's just the beginning of what we do. I mean, we feed people, we help people get housing, we have an arts collective, we provide mats at night and sleeping bags. I mean, we do everything. And because of COVID, there's a lot of services that have actually been shut down. So we do a lot of almost everything. So we're in a pretty crazy situation right now.
And I think I speak for a lot of people when I say thank you. Thank you to Ops, and thank you to you, and thank you to all those individuals who provide and who try. That's the key there, is they try. And I know that that doesn't fix anything, and there are still lots that are going on. And so with your experiences and from what you've seen, like, I know that right now what is being done is the best of what we can right now in terms of funding, in terms of services that are currently available in the state of a pandemic. But what do you think, if you had the money, the resources, what do you think is needed? What could be done differently or improved?
Well, right now we're just, we continue on the front lines to watch people. Well, for one, we need housing, because people need, how are you healthy if you're out on the street? Living on the street is a terrible situation for anyone, especially with all the weather conditions that are experienced, either hot sun or even rain and terrible weather. But what we really need is a safe supply, and that means something that people can use, that they're not going to die, that they know what the amount is. Also drug checking. We need more drug checking. When you can check your drugs, you know what's in it, so you have an idea of what you're taking. So I think that knowing what you're taking, whether it be, we've seen pig dewormer, we've seen all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't want to put into your body that will eventually kill you if it doesn't kill you right away, in these drugs. And it doesn't, all drugs can be tainted with something or another. And we're seeing young as 12 die, just people who, when I was a kid, you could do any drug you wanted, everybody could experiment. It was like, even in the 60s, everybody was experimenting. Either you just took it and it worked, or it was like bunk and it didn't work. So, but now it can be very easily lethal for people, and it's very addictive. And it's not like, heroin, where it has a longer lasting effect. It's like a very much a short-term effect, and people are looking for it not too far afterwards. So, we have a lot of jobs for people, so they're not having to do survival sex trade, or they're not having to do, crime, survival crime, things like that, drug dealing. all of the things, we're trying to help people put their lives back together. But really what we do need is something that they know what they're taking, and we can do it. I'm working on different programs right now. One is called My Safe, and you can get a safe supply in the form of Dilaudid, but not everybody wants that. Different people want different things, and different things work for different people. So I'm also working on a safe supply program with some folks that were involved in the Salome project, which was a legal heroin project, and to try and get legal heroin to people so that they have that as an option as well. So, but all of these things are difficult because of the government, and because of the stigma and because of the war on drugs. People are scared about changing laws, even if it means saving lives. And really what I think about it is a government official who is strong and can say, listen, this is what we need to do to save lives, and we're going to do it. And we're going to do it, and we're going to stop the ambulances. We're going to stop folks for having to do survival sex trade and putting women at risk. We're going to stop all of these things, and this is how we're going to do it. And short of that, I think, we're going to continue in this situation that we're in. So, and sometimes I feel really defeated. You see budgets come up, and you see that people want to do stuff, but they don't want to actually get to the root of the problem because there's fear of voters and things like that. But sometimes you just have to do the right thing. I mean, sometimes you have to just say, listen, there's the scientists, the drug users said that this is what they need. You really have to ask drug users how they could change their lives, and you got to listen to their answers, because they usually, people usually have the answers to their problems. So yeah.
Oh, thank you. And I think you really touched on some really important parts there, especially that element of, what stops a lot of these, progressions to be made and services to be provided is, we've talked about this before, but stigma is at its core, especially when it comes to, I recently read of how, I think, it was April, I believe 16th was the 5-year anniversary of when it was publicly known as a state of emergency. Health authority had named it an emergency.
Yeah.
And I think, we see this paradox where we recognize it as an emergency, but yet the stigma stops us from progressing.
So again, a lot of things have been done, right? And the government has taken a lot of action. A lot of things have been done, to help with the situation in terms of overdose prevention sites. And Vancouver and especially is very progressive, and Canada as well. But really, to make a real change, we really need to take really, really bold action, and really get up and just make some changes of safe supply. We need to make sure that doctors will prescribe. Doctors have to get on board as well to help people. There's only one way really that I can see a path forward, and that's getting people onto something else that's not going to kill them. It's painful to and to think that a lot of people who are using drugs are using them because they're in pain. They have long-term pain issues. They get cut off of drugs, and they end up using street drugs because of it, because they're highly addictive, and they want to get rid of their pain, or they want to get rid of their trauma, or they want to get rid of. I was talking to a sex trade worker yesterday, and she said that most sex trade work, she said all of the sex trade workers she ever knew that were doing survival sex trade had been abused at some point of their life. So there's a lot of trauma and that we really need to consider, and that we really should be, helping people, some of the most vulnerable people in society. And we're not doing a very good job of that. And we could.
We really could. And I think, honestly, this is why I am very grateful that you are here, because again, like, I can only say so much and the internet can only say so much, but what is clear and in terms of informing is, hearing you speak and hearing the others that, just do what you do and see what you see and meet the people who are impacted daily. And so I would also love to also tap into, of course we see, how changes can be made in terms of systemically, how they can be changed in terms of policy level. In terms of, our audience members are very diverse, in terms of their background, in terms of their place of work, in terms of, but we're all here in terms of, one thing, to be open-minded, and to learn. And so I would love to also hear your thoughts of, how can we stand up? How can we contribute? How can we support, in addition to what you had named, like whether that be starting tomorrow, even if possible?
Well, I think just definitely, what you guys are doing here today is a big thing, bringing people together and discussing these things with a diverse group of folks that don't normally discuss these, the overdose crisis. Maybe I'm right, maybe I don't know really everyone on the group here, but also, holding your local government officials accountable for this sort of thing, and saying, you know what, like, we can't have, these folks are there's people dying every day. It's a massive crisis. It's very much overlooked. And for me, just, these are human beings, and this is a huge tragedy. And I think we've kind of gotten used to it. There's just been a lot of media around it over the years, and I think we've just sort of become complacent, and that the fact that people are dying every day, what is it, 5 people a day in Canada? Maybe that's BC, actually, I can't remember, but it's terrible. And it's absolutely, there's things that we can do about it. And it's I talk to mothers and that have lost their children. They call us because, for one, we're an overdose prevention site, and we're understanding and compassionate. And I think you couldn't get a more compassionate group of people. And also we understand drug use and drug users, and we actually help people reunite with their families. And because sometimes that's what's needed. We do really whatever is needed, but if people were to actually, hear the stories of loss from parents, it's just horrific to lose, kids. The stories about the kid that, a bunch of kids watched while he was using drugs and sort of let him die at the skateboard park. There's the young girl, I think from Victoria, that just died, in a random situation. It could easily have been, someone like me. I used drugs when I was that age. You know what I mean? So, and you could experiment on things, but so it's really sad, and the mothers are asking for safe supply, and they're not getting anywhere, and to be honest, it's challenging for them. And I thought for sure, because there were so many mothers and families left behind speaking to these issues, that they would be powerful enough to do anything, but they haven't been able to, really make an impact on safe supply. So it's I have to say, it's a bit depressing for me, just to move forward and not see enough done because of stigma and because of who people are. But those are the people that I spend time with every day. I spend time with drug users every day, and I see them dying, and I know who they are, and they've had they have families, and it's drug users are, they're all from all walks of life. So yeah, I think that a lot more could be done.
Yeah. And like what's so important to what you said there is like you said, drug users and all of us, we're all human. We're all human. And that's something that, you know, Jeannette and Alley, when we've talked about this topic as well, is, you know, oftentimes we let our stigmas or our masks control how we see an individual. But we need to understand that each individual comes with their own story, their own set of experiences, their own traumas, and rather let that build this disconnection, rather that be that driving force in between you, is allowing that to shed light on how human we all are and how we all go through these, for lack of better terms, shit. We go through shit. And so again, I like to thank you for your coming today, and for the last few minutes of oh, hello. Oh, hi. Oh, what a pleasant surprise. I love dogs. I always like to tell people I am part golden retriever because my attention span is all over the place. Oh, the cutest dog. Well, from both of you, for the last minute, what is, for everybody that is here in the chat, what would you like them to take away? What would you like them to take home with them and to remember most?
You know, if they'd be willing to write their local government and, you know, just say, you know, advocate for safe supply, that would be great. That would be a big help. I think people from different communities showing their support for what is actually needed is really important and would make a difference. I think it's one thing coming from one community, but if there's support from all different communities, and show that that's what people actually want and believe is what's going to help, I think that that we might get some traction, hopefully someday, and you know, people won't be afraid of helping us, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, dog is so cute. It's so cute. What's the dog's name?
His name is Ace.
Hi, Ace. Hi. I don't know if you can hear
My
me.
son named it Ace. So
so adorable. Well,
yeah, I thought I'd end it with a little bit of Ace because he's just so cute, right?
I know. Look,
So
how old is he? He looks.
He's 10 weeks. He's just a baby.
Just a baby.
He's just a baby. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sarah.
No problem.
It's been amazing having you, and to have you a part of this dialogue. Again, to the crowd, if anyone, if anyone has any questions for Sarah, if you are available, Sarah, I know you're very busy. There is the Q&A after, I believe it is at 3:30, and all of their questions, or some of them, will be able to be addressed during that time. But until then, thank you so much, Sarah.
You're welcome.
All right. Up next, we have, after the break, we have Nikki Sharma, who is the MLA of Vancouver-Hastings. She will also be diving into, you know, what it's been like to transition into the role of an MLA during a pandemic, and tapping into some of those experiences. All right.
Nikki Sharma was elected MLA for Vancouver-Hastings in 2020 and is the Deputy Caucus Chair and Parliamentary Secretary for Community Development and Nonprofits. She's a member of the Treasury Board and the Select Standing Committees on Public Accounts and Legislative Initiatives. Nikki is a lawyer whose practice focused on representing Indigenous peoples and residential school survivors. She has worked across BC as an advocate on climate policy and reconciliation, and has been recognized for her work combating racism. Nikki will provide her reflections on community voices, the bureaucracy of systemic change, and the efforts being made during this time.
Gallery. So it was lots of very moving posts there. So just thank you. I'm on the traditional territory of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam people. Like I think you are as well. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Yeah, no, it's interesting this time of I was gathering my thoughts on this question, and you know, interestingly enough, I also had a chance to listen to Sarah earlier, and I know Sarah from years ago, so it was interesting to see her. And I mean, she's a personal hero of mine, of all the work that she's done, but for her to talk to everybody here about the opioid crisis and the impact that that's had during the pandemic, I could say that I've been elected for 5 months now, and I walked into election with multiple crises going on, right? We had the opioid crisis, and as an MLA of Vancouver-Hastings, you know, definitely hearing stories about that, and have talked to Sarah more than once about that. But also this crazy pandemic that we're under, right? And really like thinking about what it's like in terms of how we as a government have had to step in, and kind of with your question about connection, a lot of the public health orders are disconnecting people, right? They're purposefully making it so we can't connect to keep each other safe. And from my perspective, it's brought out a lot of like beautiful things in terms of people finding a way to connect. And I think this is one example of it. And I get to meet with nonprofits, because one of my jobs is to make sure nonprofits are supported, and especially in places like the downtown east side. We just heard Sarah. It inspires me every day the way that people came together and still said, even though I can't see my neighbor or talk to my neighbor, I'm there for my neighbor. And they found all these creative and beautiful ways, and it makes your eyes water when you think about it. And I walked in kind of thinking that, but I also saw really terrible things when we started. I mean, the rise of anti-Asian racism, I mean, the impact of that on people in my community, and just the need to kind of push back on that, and also the inequalities that you just see that were so pronounced, especially with the way COVID hit communities of color and people. So there's definitely a lot going on. And then there's the big government job of trying to get a vaccine in everybody's arm as fast as we can. I hope you've, I don't know if you've got a notice yet. Yay, okay. So just that, it's just one of the most monumental tasks of this government, right, that we've ever had to operationally figure out how to do. So lots going on. Yeah.
And that's why I will not only of course, appreciate you being here, but taking that moment to really acknowledge all the moving pieces that come with this role. And of course, you know, there are a lot of conversations of, you know, I always think about, you know, there's so much that we know, but there's also so much that we don't know. And usually that comes from, you know, being in a position or others being in a position that I'll know nothing about, because that's not my role. That's not the role that I'm taking within my community, or maybe that's just
on my account
hello.
now.
Oh,
No.
Hello. Think we're all good.
Yeah, another thing about COVID, you got to roll with it, eh?
Exactly. I'm glad that you have some money on your Uber Eats account. I hope you enjoy a good meal. But bring it back to what we were talking about in terms of I just lost my train of thought. I also got distracted by this little
yeah, that's cool.
little hat.
I like it. I like it.
Sorry. Another little human tidbit. Sometimes my brain kind of goes like this way.
It happens to me. Don't worry about it. You can add it all day. So
thank you. I know. I was just like, I keep reminding myself, I'm human.
100%. You got to do it. Yeah. No, it definitely has been a lot going on right now with the pandemic, but also I feel the transition of figuring out. I've done a lot of work in different organizations outside of government, but now being in government, and when all this crazy stuff is happening, one thing I really miss is just actually meeting people in person. And so we like all of us, we've had a lot of Zoom time, and I personally feel like the best way to learn is from people on the front lines, like what they're seeing, what they're experiencing, what's happening. And we're challenged with doing that right now, right? It's people are very like, I think there's a lot of feeling of when are we going to be done with this? So I'm sure you're feeling that as well. But yeah,
yes, I miss just hugging. I miss hugging my friends, hugging and meeting new people without feeling bad or without being unsure about the situation or knowing, the social context of, what is okay, what's not okay.
So what do you think? You think we'll be able to go back to that? You think we'll still have a little bit of, I was wondering about that, a little bit of anxiety about being too close to people once we're done, I wonder. I wonder about that sometimes.
Yeah. And that's the interesting thing too. There's something that we talked about in the first session was how we were almost worried because pre-pandemic, we were already forming these really strong relationships with screens and phones and social media. And now we go into the pandemic and it's a catalyst for this relationship to grow and develop.
Yes.
But honestly, I remember seeing, I can distinctly remember it was the first, I think it was in June of 2020. And when I think the order had shifted just a little bit, where they said that we were allowed to go outside and we were allowed to maybe social distance. And I remember walking along between Kitts Beach and Fairview, and there were people outside. There were people having a picnic, but no one was on their phones. Everyone was just enjoying the company in front of them. And so that's where I think, like, almost yes and no. I feel like in the beginning we'll be a little hesitant because we're, all of our social cues and social abilities were kind of kept up in just like, you only see this part of my body.
It's so true.
Yeah, I was like,
I'm gonna have to start brushing the back of my hair.
Yeah.
Me 3D.
But I think, we have it will encourage people to want to reach out more, want to spend quality time with one another. And I think, that's and I love that you brought it back to me where I was like, wait, I'm interviewing you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think it is going to be interesting. And I feel like we've really learned about, and certainly from somebody who's representing a community now, we've learned about not only how important community connections are, but what happens when you don't have them. Like when people impacts on mental health, impacts on all those things that you actually don't have as much of a line of sight on because people are separated. So I think that I do sometimes worry. I talk to some teachers in schools in my writing a lot lately, and we talk about like what's going to happen when we all go back, and what are the longer term impacts on people and kids just from being so disconnected. And I wonder about that sometimes. It's kind of this experiment that we're all kind of playing out globally together, right? That we're trying to figure out. But yeah, definitely it's a crazy time.
Yeah, 100%. And that kind of brings me into, I want to bring it back to your experiences, of course, like, when you first transitioned to this role, or when you even think about transitioning to this role pre-COVID, there's probably, some sort of structure to it. But when coming into this role amidst a pandemic, they're like, oh, these are the things that you usually do, but also this is completely different from what we're used to, but good luck.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear, what were some of the challenges and what were maybe things that are most misunderstood about your role as well, that you started to experience just from starting off and being in the role.
Yeah, and I think when we first started, one of the just like very practical things that I think a lot of people probably experience, which was that, can we have our office open or not? And if we don't have an office open, how are we serving the riding? And really, like, my experience as a new MLA, like, everything's new to me. So we have to zoom into the legislature, and there's all these rules about point of orders and when you're supposed to talk and when you're not, but it's all through the context of speaking to a computer screen. So it's a completely different experience for a lot of us. And I think we're all just kind of used to, it's interesting also because I think we have more leeway for people because there's going to be technical issues. There's going to be issues with like doing all that stuff and the way we're working together. There are people that I am working with that I've never met in person, which I'm sure that's a lot, maybe a common experience as well, but like just never actually interacted with them in person. And like I think there are definitely challenges in doing the work. Like I already said, you can't really meet people. Like one of the ways to really learn about what's going on is just to gather people, and I'm sure you do that in your work all the time, right? And so unless somebody has a computer, has all the things that gets us to be able to interact now, there's all these limits on it, right? About how you can reach out to people. I find that challenging. Yeah, but I have to say, like, I think I also, I don't know, I find a lot of hope too. Like, I mean, like just listening to Sarah before, like there's people like that in my community and around my community that are just like out there doing all this work to the rising challenges. There's an organization that serves women fleeing violence in my area, and they've had to step up during the pandemic because of the restrictions, and just the way people came together and did all these extraordinary things for their community. It just is like, it has to lift you up at some point, right? That you know, there's so much good in the world, and that may sound really cheesy, but it was really tested in a lot of ways, right? And then yeah, I think that's definitely inspired me a lot in this work, for sure.
No, and you bring up a really good point, and it reminds me of this. I kind of touched on it in the with Jeannette and Alley, but this paper that I read about. Oh, sorry. Apparently, I'm not speaking. Hello, now everyone can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. But this paper that I read and naming the pandemic as the Great Pause, it's really interesting to me because I had mentioned before of how, you know, for the first time ever, we were challenged with everything being canceled in terms of social events, in terms of work, in terms of school. And for a lot of us, and I remember talking about this with my friends and other just other people along the way, is the impact that this had on our ability to really sit with ourselves and really, and that's where, you know, that we've seen uprises in terms of social movements come in. We've seen, you know, people speaking up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I don't know what it is. I'm not the person to coin a term around it or label it, but what I see is, you know, as a human race, we, you know, it's easy to be compelled in all the things that are going around us. Like social media makes it evident. In terms of social events, it makes it evident. But when we have that time, when we have that ability to really sit down and reflect, and have that opportunity to, you know, take the time to explore what, well, you know, what we've been neglecting. Beautiful things can come out of it. Scary things can come out of it, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But when we do take the time to dive into that, we can see, yeah, like we've heard from yourself and from Sarah, like the need for connection, the efforts to connect, as well as these beautiful movements that come out to really, you know, speak to, you know, enough is enough. We need to address the things that we've been ignoring.
Yeah, and the kind of limitations we have now on those movements just kind of naturally building momentum because we're all so isolated. It's so true. Yeah, and I was thinking also about, I mean, I'm sure like a lot of people, I miss my parents so much. Like I just want to be with them, and I think there's that also sense of time that, you know, time is like one of our most precious resources, and the fact that to keep people safe, we've had to not be around them is something like I've talked this with a lot of people. The first time that they get to gather with people that are dear to them, that they've lost the time with, it's going to be amazing. You know, I really look forward to that personally, and I know a lot of people do, right? And so like kind of what you're saying, it helps us appreciate, in a way, one of the positive sides maybe is we get to appreciate or understand how deeply important that is, right? Instead of just running and going all the time.
Yeah, 100%. And for our last few minutes, I would love to hear from you in terms of, you know, what are your hopes? And this can be from personal, this could be from, you know, your professional role, but what are your hopes for the community, whether that be right now, tomorrow, next week, or just sometime?
Yeah. I feel like my biggest hope is that as a government and as a society, we take the lessons that the pandemic has taught us about the inequalities that already existed, that were just really pronounced. And my hope is that we keep that sense of solidarity that we had in a lot of ways. You know, the only way we get the numbers down as a government, we can set these rules and say, please don't do this. But at some point, we all have to work together to do it. And that's like every household, every person that made these sacrifices in small ways and big ways, right? And that was the only way. Like the numbers are thankfully going down, right? So there's that sense of like we're all in this together as a society, and we're connected, and I hope that we can bring that to some of the other challenges that we're facing in the world, right? And I think about climate change. I think about I think about all the things that we need that for, and I guess I just hope that lasts.
Definitely, and I feel, kind of what you have touched on, and also what we touched on the other session as well, was, something like a pandemic has almost challenged us to be distant from one another, to fear the other person, just because of the nature of the virus. And that's why I really value what you said too, of like, despite everything that's going on, despite all the forces that are trying to drive us apart, it's important to remember that solidarity, the reminder that we're all human, and that, that how I always phrase it, for myself and phrase it to other people, I was like, they're on your team. That person, you don't know them, but they're on your team. Like, we're not competing. We're not trying to be against one another. We're on each other's team. We're teammates.
Mm-hmm.
And well, thank you so much, Nikki. I wish we had more time.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, thank you. And thanks for all the work that you do, and just even putting this on. I think it's a fun way to connect, even though we can't be in person. So yeah.
100%. And I think, I know from judging from the chat, I haven't personally been able to look at the chat, but my team has been telling me that everybody that's here and everybody that will be able to see this afterwards, for context, I don't know if I mentioned it today, but there's not only the transcribing on the Zoom, but we're also recording it so we can share with the rest of the community who doesn't have access to internet or a laptop currently. But welcome back. It is time for the Q&A. So right now we're collecting all of the questions from the chat. How this is going to work, I will probably do I don't even think it's called that. But I will go to each of the speakers, asking some of the questions from the audience. So first up, love to ask Jeannette and Alley. This one is from Kate. She would love to hear more about your business and the products, and where she can get some.
Is it on? Am I on?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Right now it's definitely been a work in progress. So we're just getting everything kind of developed right now. It's obviously it's a bit of a struggle with, I guess, financially getting things together, and kind of making everything come together as new entrepreneurs. Things are definitely all new to us. So finding out all the things along the way, obstacles or hiccups along the way. So it's been interesting to get everything together. But right now we're just underway. We have like about one or two of the products finished right now, and we're just in the process of getting about the rest of the 6 sort of all set up together. So I'd say within the next week or two, we should be able to, fingers crossed, get everything kind of ready for getting it out there, marketing and such. So I guess it's just through Employ to Empower would be the way currently to connect with us for any products that you'd be interested in getting. Or any information.
And what are the products?
Well, the first one we're working on is the Cellulitis Cream. Name a work in progress. But the Cellulitis Cream really for people to use on their legs, because now it's summertime and people's skin is exposed, especially walking around the neighborhood here. There's a lot of bacteria, and as I was saying before in one of the other interviews, any little scratch, any little cut in your leg, you can get cellulitis kind of invades there. And so really getting that cream out to people, getting their legs feeling better. So the Cellulitis Cream has been the biggest one that we've been developing. And then the one for cracked skin, cracked fingers and toes and, and feet, getting that one out right now, especially with the weather. So those two, what was the question? Those two right now, and the revitalizing spray, just as a sort of antibacterial sort of refreshing spray for the heat, which is a big one. Those are 3 of them we have.
The pain cream. And also the pain cream we're developing, which is for inflamed joints, for old injuries, so forth. And it's a process, because when we have one cream, then we have to infuse it. So it has to sit and infuse for a couple of weeks. And so then we work on the next one. So it is a process to it, but we're excited about it. And we feel very grateful for this chance with Employed to Empower helping us, backing us up. So it's great. And we hope that we are positive that it shall help a lot of people suffering right now with inflamed skin, irritation, infection, and it helps reduce inflammation and reduce the pain. So, and it complements the conventional medicine.
And the last two, I guess, would be for the hair and nails. Again, speaking to the element of vanity, just feeling good about yourself. You know, feeling good about yourself and feeling confident and going out in the neighborhood and being able to, I guess, be the you that you can be, the you that you want to be. A lot of that is, excuse me, with with the issues that we have in the neighborhood. I mean, having no home to like take care of yourself, having no bathroom to shower, and no place to, get yourself feeling better every day before you go out and face the world and put your face on for the world to see. And I guess just giving people that chance to, have that confidence, it speaks volumes when it comes to putting yourself out there and really, getting by and moving forward in the world as you wish to do. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And it's always been an honor for me to just like hear the two of you speak about the work that you're creating, because I know how meaningful it is to you, but also how meaningful it is to the community and your neighbors and your friends within the community. And so thank you for sharing. Oh, yeah, so good.
Mother and daughter duo.
All right. Next up, we have a question for Sarah. All right. So this one is from Tara. She says, as a citizen representative for council, what can municipalities do to help you all? Should there be more mobile safe sites?
So yeah, there should be. Mobile sites are always great. Mobile sites can turn into anything. They can be overdose prevention, but they can be harm reduction supplies. They can also be pickup of needles in areas that have needles. It can be food. You can bring food around to homeless people and blankets, or even housing help. So you can have these mobile units, but then they can be information for people. They could be a phone to phone families. So I mean, you can wrap a lot of things into one service like we do, but adding the mobile effect could bring it to areas where people are having overdoses or need help, like even the Strathcona camp that came up, having a mobile unit be able to go there to help people with everything they need as needed around the city. I think that would be really great. Yeah. But and I think, what would we do to get more of them? I guess advocate for to people like Nikki and and other levels of government, and make sure that they know that these things would be, I mean, it definitely would be an asset. We, especially with the parks that people end up camping in, just having, show people where to get services and get them when the camps start. So when the first couple of people get there. That makes sense.
No, that makes 100% sense. And I love that it's, it's these mobile sites wouldn't just serve one purpose. And I feel like, that's the importance when we create services, when we provide something, is that it meets people where they're at, acknowledging that there's many needs, that it's not just one thing or the other, that there will be multiple things that are needed at one time. And so to provide those all at once is, a great step. Thank you, Sarah. All right, the next question is for Nikki. This one comes from Tara. She goes, Nikki, so good to see a woman powerhouse politician. What are the challenges that climate change poses to the community that you serve? For example, do you have sufficient and equitable transit?
Thank you, Tara. That's a really good question. I would say, being a new MLA for Vancouver-Hastings, no, we need better transit and we need better connections. So one of the things that and just in terms of the general planning on how to get around. The one good news is that they started breaking ground for the Broadway connection. So the Broadway subway connection. So I know that's a good like east to west connector, but some of the buses that connect my riding need work. So one of the things I hope to do, and I don't know, Tara, if you live in my riding, but is to have an active transport committee where we actually are thinking about where the gaps are to help with not only the city planning coming up, but also the province when we think of transit investments and TransLink, how to make it better. I think it's one of the key ways to do it, get people moving. So yeah, I think definitely in my riding, there's more work to do. It's one thing that I'm excited about working on. So yeah.
All right, we're gonna bring it back to Jeannette and Alley. This is from Tara as well. Tara, really, thank you for all the engagement. This is for Jeannette and Alley. The question reads, do you use natural oils in your products and are they affordable?
Yes, definitely. All our ingredients are 100% natural, organic, grown locally as well, locally from the island. Want to speak on that?
All our botanicals are 100% organic. And we have base oils and everything. Pardon? Yes, and the base oils that go with it. So you have an oil base, and then you have the botanicals, and you complement it with vitamin C, vitamin E. It's all very natural and therapeutic. So, pardon? Yes, the botanicals get infused, and they sit for a long time. So it's beautiful to work with them too. We use some of the roots from trees. We use tree bark. We use weeds. So, and they all have an amazing history in that's healing and effective.
Affordability was definitely a good point to touch on there, Tara, because people in the community who need these products the most are definitely in a financial struggle as well. Just every day is every dollar counts. So I mean, that's what I thought about too. Excuse me. Going into this is how can people afford this? How can people actually afford to have this product, and how can we afford to make it for them? Because it's not obviously it's not free. But I mean, we've put together, we've managed to get funds together to make it happen, and but yeah, they're affordable because we make it bulk. So I mean, making it bulk is actually we buy more products obviously. At one time, we can afford to keep the cost down and get people. It's for the relatively low price. I mean, it's based on the size. I mean, I think we're doing $10 for the tin of the Cellulitis Cream. So I mean, it's feasible for people. It's in their budget or for our demographic that we're focusing on. So it's affordable.
Cellulitis, I just wanted to add to that cellulitis is a huge problem in the downtown east side. A lot of people get infections, and the infections get really bad, and it's really tough on people to live with. So yeah, this is really welcome, and I really like the name of the organization. I think it's really great. Yeah.
That missed it, by the way, the name of the organization is Back Alley Apothecary. By the way, that's Alley.
Yeah.
Apothecary. All right. This next question is for Sarah. So this comes from Emily. She asks, do you have overdose data that is available that could be used when writing to MLAs?
Yeah, I mean, you can always get a hold of me with my email, which is blyth2008@gmail.com. And I have lots of statistics, even with our overdose prevention site, about how many lives that we've saved at our site. But then, there's lots of data available about, how many people are dying every day, and just there's things that people can do to help. So, I mean, I can pass on all kinds of information on what you can send over to folks, just to put some pressure on and maybe show what could be done, and that you support that this is a huge crisis, and that we really need to make it more important than it is. it's so tragic that it doesn't get the same spotlight as COVID, really, and more people are dying from it. And I mean, it's the mainstream crisis compared to the stigmatized crisis. So, and that's why, I mean, people can say all sorts of things, but that's why. And the challenges, I guess, of solving it are more challenging, and they're more politically difficult. They're not impossible, though, and you could do a lot. A lot can be done very quickly to save lives. Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I know that I've been reading some of the comments from the chat, and it looks like you've mobilized a great group of individuals who are ready to step up.
Yeah. Well, everyone's welcome to come if they
needed.
want to. If people want to come and visit us at our overdose prevention site to see what we do, they're more than welcome. It's a huge site, and it's outdoor, and there's ways of doing that in a protected way. As long as not everyone comes at once, we can schedule something, for people to come and see, and maybe even volunteer and learn about what we do. Yeah.
Tap into. I know that the downtown east side isn't a part of your writing, but I would love to bring it back to the writing that you do cover. I know it's always a big question to ask someone in politics of what are your hopes, what are your goals, but genuinely, human to human, what is your hope with the amount that we can try, the amount that we can do, despite all the obstacles?
Yeah, I mean, I just started in politics, and so I am hopeful still. I have to say also about the overdose crisis, I want people to know that they can reach out to me anytime, and if you want to know more about the government's doing or what the gaps are, please do, because I am for Vancouver-Hastings, so please reach out to me if you have questions or whatever. I guess I didn't enter politics or government thinking that it's the easiest way to solve problems. I think it's the toughest path sometimes, because you have to, everything's super complicated when you try to get into the details of how to move something forward. And Sarah's actually exceptionally good at that in politics. And I learned from people that have done that, but it's where the work needs to happen. It's where the progress needs to be made, right? Every time I was on the other side, outside of politics, and trying to change something, whatever I was working on, it was always coming up against, how are we making better decisions? How are we putting money where it's needed? And so I am hopeful, because I do see how advocates like Sarah, or advocates from all across my community, make an impact in terms of moving things forward. And if we don't see progress, then I have seen progress. If we don't actually push for progress, then things go backwards, right? And you think about that with the rise of racism now. I feel like we're always having to hold ground on that. And I'm, as the first person of color in the writing, I also feel that we need to hold ground on pushing away that. And so I do have hope. And I also, I guess I wouldn't be here. So, but there's big challenges, no doubt. My writing, there's housing challenges, there's homelessness, there's the climate change. We have a lot of strong climate change activists in our writing that are constantly connecting with me about how to move things forward. But I feel like my job is to be the voice of that community as best as I can. So.
I think that's key. What you said is, the importance of being that voice. And of course, that is not a small task. That is a big task. There are many voices. And so I think, leading with that intent is the first step. And I think it's huge. And I know that we all appreciate and are looking forward to, what will come out of it. All right. What we have left is we have one more question. I believe. One more question for each. This one is for Jeannette and Alley. It's from Monique. Does the back alley apothecary need support? If yes, how to do that?
Well, I mean, support in a way. I mean, we're definitely paired with, or starting to pair with organizations and just people helping each other in the community, such as Sarah at Ops. Hopefully, maybe directing people into the right way to get help, and knowing the right, I guess, resources to, and the proper resources to direct people to. I mean, I'm limited in what I can do, as is my mom, but I mean, knowing the right, just handing out, like, I don't know, spreading out the community, knowing who the right people to send people to, or knowing the right places to go to, just by connecting. Yeah, connecting. Yeah, we're doing our part, and then, like, this, I guess, what we're good at. But yeah,
It's all new to us. So
Very new.
we're learning, very new. So we're learning as we go along. But as long as that, our main focus is to get it out to the people who really need it and help them along.
Thanks.
All right, this one is for Sarah from AJ. What are some charities we can donate to that have a direct impact on the overdose crisis in the downtown east side?
Well, I would suggest one of the places you could donate to is Jeannette and these folks at the because getting people, creating opportunities. They're creating opportunities for each other, but they're also going to create opportunities for other people to heal. And I really believe that giving people work opportunities in their own communities in the downtown east side is really important. So, but also volunteering your time, coming down and giving people coffee at the overdose prevention site that I work at is a great way to contribute maybe something to the people who are on the front lines. That it's a really nice gesture. People love to have just human, seeing people who care about them and say, at least say to them while they're working on the front lines, this is really important work that you're doing, because sometimes you're in the middle of it, you're dealing with tragic situation after tragic situation, and it's always nice to hear from people outside that they care about them and that that it's meaningful work. And I think that so that's a way to do it. I mean, you can overdose, you can donate to the Overdose Prevention Society, or we have a website where we sort of take things that we put up what we need from Amazon, and you can just, like, whether it be socks or anything that we need, a barbecue for the summer or things like that. We have items that you can kind of contribute to, so those sorts of things. But yeah, I would suggest Jeannette, helping support them. They said they needed money, so that would be a good thing, and I would definitely support that. Yeah.
And that's important, and I know that for those who are staying for session 3, you'll meet Mark and Elwood, but something that they're really dedicated for is seeing peers supporting peers and seeing how it's this ripple effect. And same thing here, as kind of what Sarah's saying, is not only supporting Jeannette Alley, but supporting the other individuals that will be positively impacted by what they're contributing to the community. And that starts with supporting with just person first. Yeah, Jeannette.
And also other groups like Employ to Empower, giving us the opportunity to actually make this business possible. I mean, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even be making this business. So, I mean, having, in groups like that, and organizations like that, and nonprofits, I guess, I'm not really sure. Like Eastside Works, places like Eastside Works in the community as well, like just really helping people get off their feet, or get out of their situation, helping to get themselves out of their own hole. So it's amazing work. It really does.
I mean, at the end of the day, people just want, they want what everybody wants. They want a comfortable home. They want family. They want friends. They want a job. They want, and a job is a huge part of that. It's freedom. You get money, you get freedom. It's great, especially independent jobs where you can be creative and I think it's, I really do think some of these job creation programs that are happening in the Downtown East Side, hiring peers, are really amazing, and just getting people some money in their pockets to buy what they need to buy. Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. Such good talks. Yeah. I have no other words other than yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, yes, go ahead.
I had a question. What's the best way that we can write you, and most effective way we can write you, Nikki?
Yeah, the best way, there's an email address that I can put it in the chat. It's there's so many ways to spell Nikki that it gets annoying, but it's niki.sharma@ledge.bc.ca, and our office is just at Hastings and Nanaimo. Sometimes it's closed because of the COVID. It's not a big space, but maybe we'll be able to connect in person or something at some point or somewhere. But yeah, I'll put it in the chat right now. Oh, there we go. Oh, I'll do it. I'll put it in the chat. There's a spelling mistake there.
Nikki and I have known each other for like 20 years now. Yeah, we went to Ecuador together. Yeah, we went on a trip with Environmental Youth Alliance to Ecuador for 6 months. Yeah, it was pretty.
Was it 6 months? Yeah, something like that.
It was 6 months. It was pretty wild times.
Yeah.
Trigo. Yeah. Yeah.
Connections in the community.
One last question before we have some closing remarks. This last one's for Nikki. This one was asked from a member of our studio over here is, how can people get involved or support Vancouver-Hastings?
Oh, that's such a great question. Yeah, thanks. It kind of as a new MLA there, I'm learning kind of a little bit like a startup to try to figure out what our vision is for the community. So I would love all of your help if you wanted to come in, and we're thinking of doing things, whether it's on climate or active transport or local food or just kind of the things that people care about that want to work on. Please just connect with me. I have my email there. It's a very great question, and I'm really looking forward to meeting whoever it was there that said that. And just really happy to I think I have to say, and I know probably every MLA says that, but I feel like I have one of the best ridings, because a lot of people that live there care about each other, and they also care about making the community better. So, and I know it's also in Melanie's riding in Mount Pleasant the same way, and I just feel really lucky for that. So thanks for the question.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to Jeannette and Alley, to Sarah, to Nikki, and for all of you who have joined us today.
Cardboard Project 3 would not be possible without our sponsors: SFU External Relations Office of the Vice President, BC Housing, Daily Hive, Spotlight West, Van City, and Salema. Our virtual gallery was made possible by photographers Ollie Dickerson and Anna Ashbury, web designer Jordan Simmons, videographer Sam Neufeld, and audio specialist Ari Kikuchi.